always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to accompany a sense of being lost. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. This past Sunday evening marked the end of a 6-year-long hit TV series. It was the series finale for ABC's Lost, about a group of plane crash survivors on a mysterious South Seas island. As in the case of many series finales, this one will be the subject of chatter on the internet for weeks to come. Even though all the mysteries surrounding this strange and magical island were answered over the past number of episodes, we were still left with a few questions to be answered. This hour is also Lost, with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Chantal Kreviazuk leaving on a jet plane, and Kelly Clarkson already gone. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. M. Scott Peck from People of the Lie, published by Simon & Schuster, wrote, and I quote, "The whole course of human history may depend on a change of heart in one solitary and even humble individual. For it is in the solitary mind and soul of the individual that the battle between good and evil is waged, and ultimately won or lost." Unquote. Pretty good quote to give you an idea of what was going on towards the end of the hit TV series Lost. Anne Morrow Lindbergh in Gift from the Sea, published by Pantheon, wrote, and I quote, "It is not the desert island nor the stony wilderness that cut you off from the people you love. It is the wilderness in the mind, the desert wastes in the heart, through which one wanders lost and a stranger." Lovers and Other Strangers, Lost this hour, with iTunes and CHFI.com. Daniel Powter and Love You Lately, and Norah Jones and Don't Know Why. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. This is an excerpt from Ability from some years back, and I quote, "There are two ways to find something that's lost: by accident, or by grumping, swearing, and tearing the house apart. Although far more time-consuming, the second method is much more satisfying. Searching long and hard for something creates a restless suspense, a tension that is wonderfully relieved when the lost item is finally found. Finding a lost object in this manner strengthens the belief that we are in control of our lives." Unquote. An excerpt from Ability. And then there are times we'd wish some things would stay lost. Well, at least for a while. Ray Bradbury, in his writing California, said, and I quote, half the fun of travel is the aesthetic of lostness. Not being able to put Piccadilly together with Regent Street to distant Charing Cross, that is deliciousness. To go down the Spanish Steps in Rome and vanish. To go out in Paris midnight crowds and wonder why you love it so, as texture after texture drifts by, and you wish you could walk forever. Unquote. Ray Bradbury, writing in California. Lovers and Other Strangers, from iTunes and CHFI.com. Richard Marx, Right Here Waiting. Christopher Cross with Arthur's Theme and Romantika and Fantasie. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Dante Alighieri in the Divine Comedy wrote, "In the middle of the journey of our life, I came to myself within a dark wood where the straight way was lost." If you are a fan of the hit ABC TV series Lost, then I'm sure you will appreciate the tie-in with all the songs this hour, and even some of the quotes. This piece of music in the background is from the series as well. But not all is related to the series. Lech Walesa, from the book of Lech Walesa, published by Alan Lane in England, wrote, and I quote, "We don't work hard enough at the basic human qualities. We must remind ourselves what the simplest and most basic words mean. Words like honesty and truth. We have too many complicated pieces of apparatus, machinery, computers, and we're trying to outsmart life with their help. All we think about is how to get on best and how to get more for ourselves. We've gone too far in that direction. We've lost our sense of balance." Unquote, some wise words from a very wise man. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Elton John with Daniel and John Lennon, Watching the Wheels. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Of course, there were love interests in the show as well. Consider these thoughts about loving and losing. Karen Scalf Linneman, from the book Pillow Talk, The Intimate Marriage from A to Z, and published by Revel, wrote, and I quote, "Courtship is romantic and exciting because it thrives on the edge of disaster. It coexists with the threat that at any moment it could fall apart and be lost forever. To expect the lifelong commitment of marriage to evoke the excitement and adventure created by the fragility of courtship, well, as they say in Texas, that dog just won't hunt." Unquote. Karen Scalf Linneman. But that said, Sidney J. Harris from Field Newspaper Syndicate some years back wrote, and I quote, "It is only perhaps after you have loved and lost that you can comprehend what it means to another person to love you. Those who have never suffered unrequited love are commonly those who are most insensitive toward the hurt they may inflict on others, and the least appreciative of the gift of love." Unquote, the words of Sidney J. Harris from Field Newspaper Syndicate. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Whitney Houston, and I look to you, and Lady Antebellum, and Need You Now. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Have you noticed how beautiful the nighttime sky is at this time of year? Millions of stars overhead. It wasn't always that way, if you believe the legend. This story has an element of the TV series Lost about it. This is from the Time Life collection, The Enchanted World, the Book of Beginnings, and published in 1986. And I quote, "In New Guinea, legend tells us of a time when the stars lived on Earth. They were shy creatures and kept themselves well hidden from the eyes of men. In the deepest jungles, far from human habitation, they canoed along rivers overhung by creepers and branches. They wore glistening decorations of curving white boar's teeth and gleaming shells, and the glow given off by these ornaments wavered rhythmically in unison with the haunting song the stars sang as they paddled. One night, a traveler lost in the forest saw the shimmering light and heard the mysterious music. Fired with curiosity, he approached the source of these marvels and peered from behind a curtain of vines. He was nearly blinded by the magnificence he saw before him on the waters of a river. Perhaps he was greedy. Perhaps he merely longed to hold such beauty in his hands. But on an impulse, he reached out from his hiding place and touched one of the canoes. Frightened, the stars escaped, took refuge in the skies, and never returned. Their glorious brilliance was still visible from Earth every night, but their songs never again charmed human ears. Unquote, from the Time Life collection, The Enchanted World, the Book of Beginnings, published in 1986. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. I hope you will tell all your friends about Lovers and Other Strangers. This is the music of Jim Lamarche. This is called Night Parachuting. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.